Hello everyone and welcome to Scardcast. It is Saturday morning, new release day. Today we're looking at the Blood Angel Codex. Let's begin. Hello everyone, I'm Skari, your grateful host, and this is your Saturday pre-release live video here on Scardcast. It's 5 AM Eastern Standard Time. And we're having an absolute blast so far, so I'm really excited about that. And thank you so much for tuning in, I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, I do these streams when we have new releases happening. So thank you for everybody who tuned in live. If you didn't tune in live, make sure you stay tuned for the next one. We've got the brand new Blood Angel Codex. Yes. Sadly, this was leaked a couple of days ago. Whoever did that, shame on you, kind of ruining it for everybody. But if you, sat your horses down and decided not to go crazy and just take a look at the book, you're going to dive in. So we're not just going to talk about what is in the new book. We're going to answer viewer questions as well. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer today, make sure you post them in the chat. Hello, Practical Zaku. Hello, Ian. Hello, John. Thank you for tuning in. That's just a fraction of all the people that we're going to be seeing here today. So thank you very much for showing up. All the links are down below. Click that like button if you haven't already. And let's get to it. Yeah, so Blood Angels, Space Marines, which is amazing. I love Space Marines. Space Marines are good fun. Okay. Yes, I am up so early, but I do it for all of you. Okie dokie. So we've got the new Blood Angel Codex. I had a good chance to read over it and stuff like that. And having played against Blood Angels multiple times gives me an opportunity to sort of like get a better understanding of the Codex itself. Like I do play Black Templars. Is that the same at all? Is that the same as anything like this? Cool. Okay, so let's dive in. So, Warhammer 40,000 Blood Angel Codex. Nice. Artwork, as always, pretty fantastic. Also, not going to give up my code today because I actually remembered to put a little tape on it so I don't lose my code. So happy my Tyranids are coming in a couple of days in my stock collecting box. Nice. That's fantastic. It's always good to have a new start. So, the artwork, by the way, I just want to say in this book, I opened it up, and I just noticed how vibrant and colorful it was. Lots of red, just a whole bunch of really cool, like, this looks really neat. And the red just kind of really made it pop. We don't really have to go through all the fluff or anything like that, the stories, but, each of, like, this is like a legit, like, hefty tome in terms of rules, in terms of like story, if you really want to know about like all of the different Blood Angel stuff. It's funny because it was one of the first codexes that I ever got, actually. Haha! That's right, folks, we're going to be looking at the old Angels of Death, Ángeles de Muerte. The Codex was Blood Angels and Dark Angels in the same codex. Oh, what? Yeah, that's right. You heard it here first, folks. Brand new, second edition. Nah, I'm just bullshitting all of you. Okay. So, we've got the Flesh Tearers as well. They get a couple of cool stratagems in the codex. And they get their own sort of like chapter tactic and whatnot. Or maybe not, but they get like their own little things as well. Cool inspirational quotey stuff. I'm also listening to some like classic tunes. Okay, so let's get to it. The actual rules section. Fabulous, fabulous. So first and foremost about the Crusader chapter, like the successor chapters. I find that they've made this a little bit more. It's not as confusing as it was with the original codex as well. I also have my coffee, delicious coffee. And then we go into like chapter approved stuff. So the first thing we get are two little things. We have the chapter approved rules. Now this is basically your secondary choices, right? So there are 4 new secondary choices that Blood Angels can take. You have like Blade of Sanguinius, which is a purge the enemy. If we go to the Grand Tournament pack, of course, Space Marines, like the ones in the Space Marine book, are crazy good. There's one called Oath of Moment that seems to be probably the most popular one. MC Warp, we're about 46 pages in. I'm just kidding. We're just about to get into the rules, so you haven't really missed any of the rule part yet. But stay tuned, because it's going to be a lot. We're going to be going through everything, all the stratagems, things like that. Make sure you're posting your questions if you have any. We are live on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, all that good stuff. So all over the social medias. It's 5 a.m. here, and I'm excited. I hope you're excited wherever you are in the world. Okay, so Purge the Enemy, Blade of Sanguinius. This competes with Titan Hunter, Bring It Down, and Cut Off the Head. So it really only competes with Bring It Down, which is the anti-vehicle one. I also have cups of water and stuff like that. So, okay. So Blade of Sanguinius, start of the first command phase, select a character from your army to issue a challenge. Your opponent must select a character model from their army to accept that challenge. And you score 5 victory points for each of the following conditions. If the model that accepted the challenge was destroyed, you get a point. If the model accepted the challenge was destroyed by a melee attack, you get another 5 points. The model accepted the challenge destroyed by a melee attack made by the model that issued the challenge, you get a full 15 points. So that's a very lore-wise kind of fluffy, being like, I feel it's more Space Wolfy, but I think it's very similar to the Space Wolf one of the same name, or very similar name. Fury of the Lost, that is no mercy, no respite. So this one basically competes with thin the ranks, grind them down, and while we stand, we fight. So it's not a bad one to like sub out for one. Love that second edition cover art. Kingpin. Oh, you're right. That second edition cover art was awesome. The classics up in here. That is a great fluff secondary, right? It's like, especially since nowadays people are taking less and less characters. You can be like, I issue a challenge with my Death Company captain. And you're like, or the Sanguine or whatever. And you're like, my Librarian will accept it. And hope that you don't jump in and murder me at some point in the game. Then we have Fury of the Lost. 3 points at the end of your turn. So anything that's at the end of turn is cool because you can really kind of control it. If one or more enemy units have been destroyed by Death Company unit. So if you're a big fan of Death Company and you have units in your army, but it means that you have to max it, you need to have something be killed by a Death Company unit every turn of the game. And every one of your turns. So that would be a little hard if you don't have like a lot of Death Company, or if your Death Company just gets murdered really quickly or something like that. Now this one's an interesting one. Death from Above, same category. You score 2 points at the end of your turn if any enemy units were destroyed by a Blood Angel unit that was set up as a reinforcement in any of the moon phases. And if any of the enemy units were character, you get 3 points instead. So considering you can only bring stuff in from reserve like turn 2 onwards, like you can't really max it. So this is probably like the worst one out of all of them. However, there's a stratagem that allows you to like pick up a unit and like deep strike it in subsequent turns. You also have like the Space Marine Phobos stratagem. So there's like different ways you could like do reserves later in the game, like pick up a unit and then bring it back as a reinforcement in the next turn and then get those points, but it's not like super guaranteed. And then you have Battlefield Supremacy. So the one that Relentless Assault competes with Engage on all fronts, Linebreaker, and Domination, right? And what it is, you get 4 points at the end of your turn if there are more Blood Angel units from your army in the enemy deployment zone than there are enemy units in your deployment zone. Now, it doesn't say whether wholly within or just it doesn't specify that. It's like a domination that would require 1 unit one line breaker that would require 1 unit if your opponent doesn't have anything in your deployment zone. Being that you're a Blood Angel, you're probably going to have an army that people don't want to get too close to. So you can, in a lot of deployment zones, you might be able to just like say, this is my zone. However, line breaker is about the same, and it just requires 2 units instead of, you know, relying on your opponent not having anything in your deployment zone. So, and you know, here, comme ci, comme ça, as they say. It's, you know, I don't think it's like the craziest. So, from the secondaries, we dive into the Lost. So, Detachment Abilities. The biggest thing here is, in the Assault Doctrine, if your entire army is Blood Angels or Blood Angel Successor Chapter, when the Assault Doctrine is active, or when it fights if the Assault Doctrine is active, if it charges, was charged, or heroically intervenes, it gets +1 attack. And this is cumulative with, of course, the Assault one, the Angels of Death one. So when you're charging in turn 3 and onwards, each Marine's getting +2 attacks. That is a lot of attacks. I think Linebreaker is wholly within, getting a toe in his knife buff. Yeah, well, and see where Relentless Assault doesn't actually specify wholly within, entirely within, partially within. It doesn't actually say, it just says in. So maybe they just mean, you know, partially within. And then we go into the Death Company characters. So Death Company works differently than it did before. Death Company characters, you could pay like a command point to make your character Death Company, and they'd get like all the rules for Death Company. Now it works very similar to the chapter command, where you pay points to make a captain or a lieutenant, a Death Company captain or a lieutenant. You can make 1 captain or 1 lieutenant in your army Death Company, right? Right? So you can only have 1. That's it. You can't have more than 1. And then if you do this, then the lieutenant aura of reroll 1s to wound and the captain aura of reroll 1s to hit, they only work for Death Company Corps, which is pretty much the Death Company. But it just means that their aura changes, so regular Blood Angels wouldn't benefit from their auras. So that's a bit of a change there. And they also get, they can't be the Warlord, so you can give them relics and stuff, but you can't make them the Warlord, or give them a Warlord trait. They can't be your Warlord. Doesn't mean you can't make them a Warlord trait. They can't be given any other chapter command upgrades. You can't have like a chapter master or a master lieutenant, like apothecary or stuff like that. That is a Death Company character. They also get visions of death visions of Sanguinius, which is a new rule that Death Company characters get. So that's important to know, or some Death Company characters, not all of them. So it's a cool like once per game ability that they get, which is pretty neat. Now, another thing is, if you make a captain or a lieutenant, especially a captain, if you make a captain Death Company, it doesn't stop you from taking a captain in a Space Marine detachment. In the Space Marine Codex, you can take 1 captain per detachment, right? Which means that you could potentially take, you know, 3 smashy captains. You could have like Death Company captain, a regular captain, and a chapter master, which then also supersedes the captain. So you could have a battalion with 3 smash captains in it. Very much similar to like what we've come to know and love or hate from Blood Angels, if you just want a bunch of killy, smashy characters out there, which is pretty neat. But it's 20 points for captain, 10 points for lieutenant. I don't know why you'd want to make a lieutenant Death Company, but you know, maybe if you just want a second Death Visions of Sanguinius in your list. We'll dive into the stratagems. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 stratagems. 2 of them are for Flesh Terrors only. So you have 15 Blood Angel stratagem, and 2 of them that are specific to the Flesh Terrors, which is a, you know, chapter, a secondary chapter, basically. So, we see a return of a lot of the stratagems that we remember from 8th edition in the old Blood Angel supplement. However, they have changed, and some are different and some are not. Now, if you have any questions, make sure you type them in the chat, or if you leave a comment as well. But some of the big ones people were asking for is Descent of Angels, Forlorn Fury, things like that. And they are in here. They just work differently now. Matthew G says, can the other 15 be used by the Flesh Tearers, or do they get their 2 plus the Marine Codex? That is a great question, actually. So, stratagems. All units from Blood Angel's successor chapters are considered to have the Blood Angel keyword for the purposes of using Blood Angel stratagems. So, Flesh Tearers would get all of them plus the 2. Can BA take the regular Marine secondaries too? Yes, they may. They are Adeptus Astartes, so as any chapter, the whole Space Marine Codex, you can run any rules out of the Space Marine Codex, and then you can run all the rules from your supplement, depending on what chapter you're running. Absolutely. So, Descent of Angels. Different now. Before, I believe it gave you like a 3d6 charge or something. So when I talk about the rules, I'm going to focus on what the rule is right now. If you were a Blood Angel player, or you know much about Blood Angels, and you're like, this is the change, sure, that's great. I'm just going to tell you what the rule is now. And then you can infer, like, what you will from that. Like that, we can keep it simple, and I don't have to try and remember old rules that have no bearing on what's important or not important anymore. as that is normally. So, and I don't know why this is so dark. Why is it so dark? I'm just going to check the darkness. Meh, that's fine. I guess it's okay. Cool. Descent of Angels. So, end of the movement phase, select the Blood Angel jump pack unit that has been set up on the battlefield during the reinforcement step. And then 2 things happen to that unit. Every time a charge roll is made for the unit, you ignore any or all modifiers to the charge roll. Now, do note, this is positive and or negative modifiers. So if you have a chaplain nearby and you want to try giving the +2 inches to their charge, that's not going to work, right? If you use the stratagem on someone. But if you're trying to charge into a place that has like negative modifiers, like some grab fields, or a special rule that slows you down, or a crater, or whatever it is, you can ignore all those modifiers as well. Just makes it easy for you to make charges. And then the second part is every time a model in the unit makes an attack, add +1 to the attack hit roll. Now this is cool because it's both shooting and in combat, so if you want to jump down and get +1 to hit for like shooting with like melta-guns, or +1 to shoot, like +1 to hit with like Sanguinary Guard that have all their Angelus bolters or whatever to really get some like good shots off. That's kind of cool. It gives you that +1 to hit, and I like that. It's just and it's 1 CP, so you're not spending like a crazy amount of points on it or CP on it. So just, it's a nice little, like, flavorful thing. And then we have Vengeance for Sanguinius. Stratagem in the fight phase when a Blood Angel unit is selected to fight until the end of the phase. Every time you make a melee attack against a Black Legion unit, so they have a specific anti-chaos, anti-Black Legion strat, you reroll hits and runes against that unit. So if you really want to mess up some Black Legion, you've got a 1 CP strat to basically give you reroll hits and wounds, and just mess up some chaos. So if you're a Blood Angel player and your one of your friends plays Black Legion, awesome. But that is incredibly situational. Like, sure, maybe every once in a while you'll run into like specifically Abaddon, and you're like, Abaddon, you're Black Legion? I'm gonna mess you up. So, Refusal to Die. This is a stratagem for Death Company. It's 1 or 2 CP. Of course, if it's anything that's 1 or 2 CP, tends to be if it's more than 5 models in a unit, it costs 2 CP. So we're starting to see that more and more. Like, the bigger the unit is, the more CP it costs to like do cool things like this. So it's for any Death Company unit, after it's selected as the target of the attack, until the end of the phase, it's a 5+ ignore damage, basically, for Death Company only. So it gives them a... Death Company have a 6+ ignore damage, but it basically increases it to a 5+, making it very, like, making it very resilient as well. Which is kind of cool, and you can do it as selected as the target for an attack, so you could use it like when you get overwatched by something, if you need it in the combat, or you can use it like when you're getting shot or you're getting hit. And it's cool because it's any Death Company unit, so you can also do it on like Dreadnoughts, you know, the Death Company Intercessors, the Death Company Captains, just makes them like annoying to get rid of. Combine that with, say, Primaris Death Company, right? Like the Death Company Intercessors and Transhuman Physiology, because they are Primaris, and all of a sudden you have like a very, very durable unit that goes around and just is a hard time getting rid of them, basically. Then you have the Flesh Terrors, so Aggressive Onslaught. In the fight phase, select a Flesh Terror unit until the end of the phase. When you pilot consolidate, move an additional 3 inches. So 1 CP, pilot and consolidate 6 inches. It can be game winning, anything that gives you extra movement. However, it's very specific to the Flesh Terrors. Yeah. Angel Sacrifice. Interesting tech stratagem. 1 CP, select a Blood Angel character unit that's not a vehicle until the end of the phase, and an enemy, like enemy models within engagement range, are going to have to fight that character. Which means you basically, for 1 CP, make everybody in engagement range fight you. Now, super situational. However, like imagine if you have like a Storm Shield, a very tanky character, or a Death Company character that's using a Death Visions of Sanguinius to get a 3+ invulnerable save. More on that later. And you're like, I really need to keep my objective secured unit alive. It's late game, right? We're on this objective. We're fighting, you know, it's like the secondary points and primary points are in the balance. And you go, I'm going to spend 1 command point, and everything that has to attack my character. So you're forcing your opponent to do something which could potentially save, like, your troops or one of your units from being destroyed, which then gives you points, which then could win you the game, right? So it's a situational thing, but it could, like, or say your opponent needs, like, those big game hunter points for killing a tank that they're in combat with. However, you charge a character in and go, you can't attack my tank, you have to attack me. You know, it could happen, like, if it's a protracted combat and you've got, like, both sides are in combat, and you know that because it's your turn, your opponent's going to fight first, which means your troop unit is going to die if they get attacked, so you charge in with a character, try to get as many people into engagement range, and go, you have to attack me, so I attack you first, because I've got, you know, I charged, and then you can pick a unit to attack, but you have to attack me, so then my troop unit is then alive, and then it can attack you. Cool, right? 1 CP, there's so many little nuances just from a single stratagem that I really enjoyed, like, little things like that. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think that's a useful stratagem? Do you think it's very, like, meh? 1 CP, Spiritual Might. Select a Blood Angel Psyker. Can attempt to manifest an additional psychic power. This phase, cool. Cost an additional power for CP, always useful. Visions of Sanguinius for 1 CP. Death Company character model can do one of the following in the fight phase, like when it's gonna fight. If it already used the Death Visions of Sanguinius, it can use an additional one this phase. If it has not used a Death Vision, it can use 2 different Death Visions. Now we'll get to Death Visions, but essentially there's a list of 3 things that a character with Death Visions can do in the fight phase. They can do one of each of them basically per game, and they get 3 of them. So, you know, this one just kind of speeds up the process and lets you double up on something. Cool. Just to keep it simple, you've got one that does a lot of mortal wounds against, like, characters, or potential to do a lot of mortal wounds. You got one that gives him an invul save, and you give one that gives him lots of attacks if, like, there's a horde around him. Or her, if you're making female blood angels. Sure. Cool. Angel Exemplar. So, Pick a Blood Angel character to be a Warlord. Give them a Blood Angel Warlow trait. So it's very specific. You can make an additional Warlord, but you have to give them a Blood Angel Warlow trait. Angel Ascendant, Blood Angel to have an additional relic from the Blood Angel relic. Cool. Oh no, this is a Sergeant. So give a Sergeant one of the War Gear relics. Cool. Lucifer pattern engines. This is very situational. I doubt you're going to see this very often. 1 CP, a vehicle that doesn't have fly, and no dreadnoughts, which I wish you could give it to dreadnoughts. When it advances, it auto moves 6 inches. Sure. The Ball Predator already has this in it if you're a Blood Angel fan. So you can't use it on a Blood Angel. You could use it on like a Rhino or a Repulsor or something, but you can't use it on a Land Speeder or anything like super fast. So Tross says, sorry, is the sacrifice strat wording enemy models engagement or enemy units? So is if you have an enemy unit, so when an enemy unit is selected to fight, right, a model that's in engagement range of the character has to attack that character. So its models within engagement range have to fight the character. But thank you for the question, Tross. Then we have honored by the Archangelicum. Some of these names, eh? Crazy. After nominating a model to be a warlord from a successor chapter, you can give them a Blood Angel relic. Because usually you can't give them Blood Angel specific relics, but this allows you to if you're taking a successor chapter. Red Rampage. So these are pretty standard ones, except for this one, sure. They're like extra warlord, extra relic, that sort of thing. Stratagem in the command phase of the assault. If the assault doctrine is active for the army, this is the one they previewed on the GW site. For the entirety of that like battle round until your next command phase, basically. 6 to wound with a melee weapon gives you an additional AP, and it's cumulative with the bonus from the assault doctrine. And this is army wide for a single CP, so you can be running in. You've got chain swords, which are AP 1, assault doctrine, they're AP 2. If you roll a 6 to wound, and it's an unmodified 6 to wound, they're AP 3. So you could have like chain swords being AP 3 for a turn, which, you know, can be really useful. I find that, for example, you know, you're not getting the sheer like damage output from Blood Angels as say White Scars, because White Scars turn 3, they have the double damage. You know, they have like double damage, things like that, like in Assault Doctrine. Space Wolves, you know, get extra hits basically. So Blood Angels get the +1 to wound when they charge. They have the extra +1 attack, so they're technically +2 attacks. And they have lots of ways of getting bonuses to hit as well. So then not only are they wounding better, but they, you know, you'll see there's lots of ways to give them pluses to hit, especially if you're running like Sanguinary Guard or whatever. So you're hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s normally, right? And then the AP is kind of what can kill things like Space Marines. Blood Angels are terrifying for like any non-other Space Marine chapter because they've got so many attacks and so much volume of dice that they can just go in and hack their way through anything. That's pretty crazy. Imagine Blood Angel Assault Terminators with Lightning Claws, you know? 2 attacks for the Terminator, 3 for, you know, 4 for having a Lightning Claw, pair of Lightning Claws, and then you charge in for an extra +2, so you're looking at, you know, 6 attacks per Terminator on the charge with Lightning Claws. Ugh. Anyway. Unbridled Ardor. So this is a Sanguinary Guard only. For 1 CP, Sanguinary Guard are allowed to heroic intervene for like 6-inch heroic intervention. For 1 CP, but it's Sanguinary Guard only. So they do get a heroic intervention strat, only Sanguinary Guard. Okay, and you know, that's going to be a bit of a change, but a lot of people take Sanguinary Guard. I'm looking at you, Steven. You pioneered that whole 50 million Sanguinary Guard in the list. So anybody who already played Sanguinary Guard, ta-ta. Then we have Forlorn Fury. So, Forlorn Fury's back. Pre-game move for Death Company. But now you can do it on all of your Death Company units, if you have enough CP for it. Which is pretty cool. And it is a strategic ploy stratagem, which is neat. I believe there is some... Is it this guy that does the strategic ploy one? No, that's Epic Deed. Okay, fair enough. So it's not... You can't have it for free. I wish. I wish. Good morning, TV Robbie. What's going on? Thanks for tuning in. So you have essentially for 1 CP or 2 CP. So 1 CP for a 5-strong unit or less. So character or a 5-strong unit Death Company. 2 CP for a Dreadnought or a larger unit of Death Company, which goes up to 10, right? You can essentially move them, not just a regular move, it's just a 12-inch move before the game begins. After you find out who the first turn is, right? So first battle round, so you know who's going first. Before it begins, you can pay CP and move all your Death Company and stuff like that. And it's just 12 inches, just straight up. So, you know, unless somebody's like using Nurglings and sort of pinning you into the zone or whatever, fair enough, you know, that can happen. However, you can use it on Dreadnoughts and stuff. So imagine, if your opponent doesn't have any pre-deployment stuff, like mid-board stuff, and you could pre-move, you know, 5 Death Company, that's 2 CP, and then a Dreadnought, Death Company Dreadnought, that for 2 CP, and literally like 4 CP, and you've got like 3 very killy units in the mid-board. And if you're going first, like, that's 12 inches. That's half the... That's literally, you're up half the board now. So there's only 12 inches between you and the opponent. And that Dreadnought's going to get stuck in. And I love that. I think that's great. Forlorn Fury is fantastic. And I love that if you wanted to, you could spend all 12 of your CP moving, you know, 6 different 10-strong units, or 3 Death Company Dreadnoughts, and then 3 10-man Death Company Intercessor units halfway up the board. I know, that's just me. Upon Wings of Fire. So, any jump infantry core unit, Blood Angels jump infantry, you can pick them up in the movement phase and remove from the battlefield. And then the next movement phase, you set up that unit anywhere on the battlefield 9 inches away. Now, this is important because it's just, you pick them up and move them. They can be in engagement range, you know, like, it's in the movement phase, so, you know, you can, like, move and then do it, and then choose to do it or whatever. Like, you don't have to do it, like, when you've selected it. They don't have to be further away from the opponent. So you could be, like, stuck in close combat with a bunch of witches or something, and they could be tying you up in combat, or like some sort of non-fallback mechanic, and you'd be like, I'm just going to on Wings of Fire them, get them the hell out of dodge, because there's no fallback. They just leave. They just shoot their jetpacks, and they go. Then they come back, and they deep strike. So it's a little different in the case that it's not the same turn. So you have to put them in, basically, on the side, and then they come back next turn. But for 1 CP, for like redeployment, awesome. And you can also mix it with something like a Teleport Homer. You can also mix it with something like the Phobos stratagem from the Space Marine book. So you can have multiple units kind of like redeploying. I think that's incredibly powerful when it comes to the game itself. Okay, then we have Savage Destruction. When a morale test is failed for an enemy unit within engagement range of a Flesh Terrors unit, you subtract 1 from combat attrition tests. So, very situational, but makes Flesh Terrors scarier when you fail morale. Sure. And then Chalice of Overflowing. Select 1 Sanguinary Priest. That model can use the Blood Chalice ability 1 additional time this phase, which allows them to essentially pick a unit to be in the Assault Doctrine. So you can spend the CP and get them to pick 2 units, or if you're using Brother Corbulo, to pick 3 units to all be in Assault Doctrine that turn, that turn, which is cool. Being able to like jump straight into Assault Doctrine when you're in Devastator or Tactical, amazing, because you get all your bonuses as a close combat chapter in Assault Doctrine. So it's really cool to be able to be like, oh, you got in my face turn 1. Well, this guy's gonna be in Assault Doctrine. Go. You know, that's neat. I like that. And those are the stratagems. Nothing like super crazy. You know, a couple of things here and there. Warlow Traits. So 6 normal Warlow Traits, 3 Warlow Traits specifically for Flesh Terrors. Speed of the Primarch, always fight first for the Warlord if he's in engagement range. Sure, that's, you know, situational at best. Artisan of War, I do like this one. It allows you to take a Adamantine Mantle, Artificer Armor, a Master Crafted Weapon, a Digital Weapon, in addition to another relic. So basically you spend your Warlord trait to give your character like special issue gear, which I think is really neat, because like an Adamantine Mantle, for example, gives you like a 5-up ignore damage roll, but you can take that on top of like another relic, like a Killy relic, so you can kind of mix and match that. That's interesting. The Soul Warden is an aura. Friendly Blood Angel units within 6 inches get a Feel No Pain of a 5+ against mortal wounds. So that could be really useful, especially, you know, when you have like Sanguinary Guard or like tough units that have like good armor. However, against an army, say like TJ Lanigan's 20 mortal wounds a turn list, you know, having that 5-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds, especially if that's like common in your meta, could be very useful. As a Black Templar player, I find it extremely useful, especially on things like tanks and whatnot, to have a save when somebody's just throwing mortal wounds at you. You know, it makes a big difference. Heroic Bearing, add 3 inches to the to auras, to the Warlord. That's always a good relic and a Warlord trait, just increasing the aura range of stuff. And this has a Heroic Blessing, so units within 9 add +1 to leadership. So the second part, leadership, who uses Space Marine leadership? But the first part, adding 3 inches to your, you know, Rites of Battle, Tactical Precision, and Spiritual Leaders and Chapter Master abilities to up to 9 inches. That's pretty cool. Gives you a little bit extra. Gift of Foresight. Reroll a hit roll, a wound roll, and 1 saving throw every turn for this Warlord. Now, I have a feeling we're going to see that one quite a bit, being that it's player turn. So being able to reroll an armor save or a hit roll or a wound roll every single turn for like for a guy with like a Thunderhammer or something, that keeps them alive a lot longer than you think. It saves a lot of command points. And considering that you don't get your own aura buff rerolls anymore, I can see that Gift of Foresight being quite a popular Warlord trait. Selfless Valor allows your Warlord to heroic intervene within 6 inches. Yeah, that I can also see being, you know, relatively used, especially for maybe a Death Company character that you just want to go in and like have them do a lot of damage. Merciless Butcher for the Flesh Terrors. +1 attack for every 5 models within 3 inches. Situationally good against hordes. Wrath and Rage. Unmodified roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. So if you wanted a budget Space Wolf, that's the Warlord trait for you. Cretation Blood. Every time you declare a charge, you cannot units can't fire Overwatch against the Warlord, and you can reroll charge rolls made for this Warlord. So Cretation Born is Cretation Born, not Cretation Blood, is literally the old wings of the wings of Sanguinius or whatever relic, but it's a Warlord trait. Sure. I think characters have like their own Warlord traits and stuff. So Astrath is a Soul Warden. You know, Brother Corbulos has the Gift of Foresight. Tycho has Selfless Valor. Mephiston has the Speed of the Primarch, so he's super fast. Commander Dante has the Heroic Bearing. Seth is a Merciless Butcher. Lamardes is a Soul Warden. And the Sanguinor has Heroic Bearing as well. You know, in case you were keeping track for your favorite characters. And we'll go over all the characters in a second. We'll go over like their like aura buffs and things like that and abilities. And so if you have any questions about that, you know, you can also ask them in the chat. I hope you're enjoying the stream so far. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in for this crazy early morning stream. And if you're just watching with me in the background and painting, I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. It's been nice. Sanguinary Discipline. So, a couple of changes to these psychic powers. They are a little different than they were. Quickening. basically, warp charge value is 6, and it picks the Psyker itself. So its quickening is now on the Psyker specifically. You can reroll advance and charge rolls made for the Psyker, and add D3 to the Psyker's attacks. So if you really want your... Good morning, Stefan. How's it going? Stefan, sorry. If you want your character Psyker to get extra attacks, sure, with his Force Sword, you can make him a little close combat monster. Unleash Rage. Pick a friendly Blood Angel core within 12. Unmodified roll of a 6 to hit, scores an additional hit. So once again, budget Space Wolves with a psychic power. Extra attacks, always good. Shield of Sanguinius. Pick a friendly Blood Angel unit, not just a core unit, just any Blood Angel unit with an 18. They get a 5-up invulnerable save. Dreadnought, tank, infantry unit, character, whatever you want. Boom, 5-up invul save. Blood Boil. Now, this one I really like, actually. It's a 18-inch pick an enemy unit, right, that's visible. Now, that's awesome because you could pick a character if you wanted to. And you roll 2d6. If you roll higher than the toughness unit, that unit takes D3 mortal wounds. If you roll double their toughness, or more than double the toughness in the unit, they just take 3 mortal wounds. So 2d6, your average is 7. So against like Eldar characters, Guard characters, anything that's toughness 3, you're going to be doing 3 mortal wounds. Like, that's actually pretty good. It's like secretly a cool sniping ability from mortal wounds, being like, blood boil, and then make their blood boil, and then they die. Like, Archon Skari does not like that psychic power. Of course, you could just do it on a regular unit if you wanted to. But when I see, oh, it's not closest, it's just a visible enemy unit with an 18, fantastic. Blood Lance, I don't even want to read it because meh. You know, it's one of those meh powers. Select an enemy model with an 18 invisible, draw a line, right? And then every unit, or every model that the center of the line passes through on a 5+ the unit that it went through takes a mortal wound. Very, very situational. And then Wings of Sanguinius. Now this is different. Well, it is definitely different. No longer does it give you like a specific... like, it doesn't last like a whole turn, and it was like a little convoluted where, like, you know, you had like the cool move buff like in your next turn and stuff like that. Like, it was weird how it worked. But now it's just a blessing. Warp charge value is 6. And that's something else. The psychic powers, like specifically to chapters, have like a really low warp charge value. They're 6s, maybe 7s. So they're quite easy to cast, which is really neat. But Blessing, Wings of Sanguinius, you put it on themselves, so it's another on themselves on that psychic power. You can make a normal move or a fallback as if it were your movement phase. And then in addition, until the end of the phase, the Psyker has a move of 12 and the fly keyword. So you can basically, they can move 12 and they fly. They can normal move or fall back as if it were your move mates. Now this is interesting too, because say you had, you're in combat with, say, Mephiston, right? And, or say a Librarian, I don't know, you're in combat with a Librarian or Mephiston or whatever, and you need to get away for some reason, but you want to cast your psychic powers. You can say, I want to smite, and then you go Wings and then fall back, right? Because, you know, you've already cast your powers. Because normally you can't cast powers after you fall back. But this allows you to say cast your powers and then go, I need an extra psychic power. Wings of Sanguinius, whee! Then get the hell out of dodge or something. So, cool. It also gives you, like, the more obvious of, I'm just going to move 12 inches towards you. And note that it's a normal move or a fallback. It's not an advanced move. It's a very specific type of movement. So you just get to move 12 inches, basically. Obscurian, the stream started at 5 a.m. local time. Respect. Thank you, Obscurian. You know, I like doing these live streams. I get up early. I went to bed. I was playing Rome 2 Total War for a while. Basically, in the process of destroying all the Gallic tribes and using all my legions. And then I went to bed. And then I woke up at 4:30. And I made myself a coffee. I got the stream all set up. Sat down. closed my eyes for like 10 minutes, and then clicked start stream. And now we're here together. But that is the Sanguinary discipline. Cool. Relics and special issue war gear. By the way, if you have any questions or comments, make sure you post them in the chat, and we'll get to them as well. So, some of them are kind of cool. Some of them, you know, like special issue war gear, you kind of know most of these already because they're the same in every single one. Good morning, everybody. So, Wrath of Baal. Sanguinary Ancient model. They get an aura, so banner, Sanguinary banner, basically. Blood Angel jump pack unit within 6 inches gets +2 to their normal move, advance, or fallback. So add 2 inches to a move, add 2 inches to an advance, add 2 inches to a fallback. Basically. Kind of cool. Makes them faster. Neat. Icon of the Angel. To any character, any Blood Angel unit within 6 inches can reroll charges. I think that one's really good. Icon of the Angel is going to be one you see. Like, just getting an aura of reroll charges. That's going to be super useful. Visage of Death. Now, this one's fun. Basically, -1 to hit the character that has this relic. And then they get a 3-inch aura where units lose the objective secured ability. And anything that allows them to control an objective marker regardless of the number of models within range. That's quite powerful, considering there's a lot of stuff in the like world right now, like in codexes, that is objective secured, and it's all about capturing objectives. So having the ability to go in and like just shut down objective secured, very powerful. And it's a 3-inch aura, which means you don't even have to be in engagement range. You just have to be within 3. So you can move them to be within 3 and then take objective secured away from the opposing unit, which is super, super, super important. Hello, Ryan. How are you? Nice to see you. That one, Icon of the Angel, Visage of Death, 2 of my favorite relics in this book so far. So Hammer of Baal is essentially a -3, 3 damage Thunderhammer. Sure. Just a -3 Thunderhammer. Nothing else special about that guy whatsoever. The Galian Staff, basically for Psychers, gets +1 to cast when you're doing the Sanguinary discipline. So cool. And it replaces the Force Staff. So it's a melee. It's +3, -2 D3 damage. So it's a pretty hefty force weapon that also gives you +1. So if you really like your Librarian, sure. The Crimson Plate is for Flesh Terror Terminators only. +1 to the move. The bearer can advance and charge, and it can move up to 4 inches when making piling consolidations. So you get +1 inch to your pilings, +1 inch to your consolidations, and then you can advance and charge and get +1 to your move. So it makes a little Terminator super fast. He's like, whooshing, with his little lightning claws. He's like, ha 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 ha. But it's Flesh Terrors only. I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I noticed, Flesh Terrors only. And then Terminator only. I was like, very situational. Johnny King says, it's always nice to wake up to a Scardcast live review. Thanks for keeping me occupied during a lockdown Saturday. Hey, no problem. Thanks for tuning in from wherever you are in the world. You are all awesome, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me on this crazy journey that we call life. Talking little toy soldiers, because, you know, Blood Angels, sure. Only recently was made aware of Skari after this incredible crusade with Mini Wargamer Dave, which, by the way, was amazing. 8 fantastic games. Mini Wargamer was kind enough to let me post all the Vault exclusives to the Patreon page, which was great. So all the Patreons got to see the whole campaign too, which was amazing. Anyway, on to the next thing. By the way, Patreon, links down below if you want to support what I do. Severer. This is another Flesh Terror relic. So out of all this, you've got, you know, a couple of good ones, and then 2 Flesh Terror relics. Model equipped with Astartes Chainsword. Cool. So it's kind of like Teeth of Terror, but different. +2 strength, -2 AP, 2 damage. Okay. An unmodified wound roll of a 5+. You take 1 mortal wound. Sadly, it's unmodified wound roll of 5+, but basically lots of attacks. You can do mortal wounds in addition to normal damage. So it's a cool chainsword, but it's flesh terrors only. And then we have the special issue war gear. So you have an adamantium. By the way, I've got music playing on my head, like Dio and Iron Maiden and like old school Black Sabbath and all this cool stuff. So that's why I'm like, you know. Anyway, I can't put it on for copyright purposes, but I'm totally listening to music right now. So we have so I'm grooving. I'm grooving is what I'm doing. Adamantine Mantle, same as the Space Marine one. Artificer Armor, same as the Space Marine one. Monstercraft Weapon, Digital Weapons, same. Different one is Quake Bolts. So you give it to any bolt weapon. You get one shot when you want to use them. Anything gets hit by a Quake Bolt, you get to reroll ones. You get, +1 to hit against a unit. So remember how I was saying that Blood Angels get a lot of like pluses to hit? This is one of the ways that you can easily get pluses to hit for like anything in your army. So you can have like your basic Marines going in, hitting a felled unit with Quake Bolts on 2s, and then wounding on 2s because of Blood Angel +1 to wound, with like a bazillion attacks with good AP. So what you're getting is like a high, and then say reroll 1s to hit, reroll 1s to wound for Lieutenant and Captain. So you're getting very reliable output damage in close combat. With like, I have 30 attacks, I'm probably gonna hit with 30, and I'm gonna wound with almost 30, and you're just gonna have to take a bunch of saves. I'm really looking forward to my take on the new Drukhari Codex. You better be. Also, cool thing about Quake Bolts, it's not friendly unit. It's not Blood Angel unit gets +1 to hit. It's just any unit, every time a melee attack is made against that unit, so melee only, but any time a melee attack is made against that unit, you get +1 to hit. So, if you wanted to, you could say add a small unit of like Blood Angels with a Quake Bolt character into, say, an Astra Militarum list, and then have the Quake Bolt shoot, charge them with a bunch of Ogrin or Bullgrin, they all get +1 to hit. Or do it with a Knight detachment, and then have like a little dude with Quake Bolts come in, shoot with a Quake Pistol, or Quake Bolter or whatever, and then literally have a Knight charge in and get +1 to hit in close combat. Or something like that. Like, it affects the enemy unit, has nothing to do with friendly Blood Angel units, nothing. So, it works really well in a synergistic sort of like Imperium allied way. And I like that as well. And it also goes with the Space Wolves have a similar one, which is reroll 1s to wound, which some people squeeze into armies as like an allied thing, to then get reroll 1s to wound in armies that would normally not get reroll 1s to wound. So, it's pretty neat. The Archangels Shard, so it's a power sword, or Mastercraft, a power sword only, becomes it's a +2 strength, -4 AP, 2 damage power sword, but it's anti-chaos. So it becomes damage 3 against any chaos unit, and becomes damage 4 against chaos demon units. So if you're having issues with the Monster Mash list, you know, a damage 4 power sword at your disposal, which is also super, super fun and super happy. My lord, the battle forces for Ultrasonics and Chroms have already sold out. Go get yours today! Of course, Crow. Yeah, GW releases tend to sell out pretty damn fast. Looking forward to this tomorrow. Warhammer Preview Online, Black Library Edition, and the Drukhari Codex. Yes. Is that tomorrow? Is that today? That's supposed to be like right now, isn't it? Dave will love facing that power sword. Absolutely. Anti-chaos stuff. We went over the anti-chaos stratagem before as well. Gleaming Pinion. Oh no, sorry. Flesh Render Grenades. Replaces frag grenades. It's a D3 grenade instead of a D6 grenade, but it's strength 5, -3, 2 damage. So, one of the best grenades I've seen, AP3, is not terrible. It's only 6 inches though, so you have to get nice and close. And is it ever going to be used? Probably not, because there are other better relics. But if you ever needed like a really fun grenade, there's one right there for you. And then the last one, down here at the bottom, it's called Gleaming Pinions. It's for any jump pack model only. The bearer can charge in a turn in which it fell back, and you can reroll charge rolls for the bearer. I think that one, you might see it on like a character, like a Death Company character or something like that, to allow you to like fall back and keep mobile, and then get reroll charges and whatnot as well. I think that would be really useful for that character. Of course, if you're not using Icon of the Angel, which allows you to reroll charges, which I think is going to be more popular personally as well. Yes, Vortex Grenades were pretty crazy. Huh? See, look, there you go right here. I wonder if the Vortex Grenade is in here. I don't think it was in here. Oh yeah, but these are all in Spanish. Ha ha! There we go. Old school Blood Angels for you from the Angels of Death Codex. We went over. I got confused and I started reviewing that one at the beginning of the game for some reason. Good morning, Tagus. What's going on? So that's Special Issue War Gear. And now we go into the Crusade rules. Now, anybody who knows I love Crusade, I'm just going to touch a little bit on the Crusade stuff. Every single army is really unique when it comes to Crusade. Every army, and I really love that they're adding in all these cool Crusade rules. I've personally been having so much fun playing Crusade. Especially in a time like this pandemic right now, where big, large competitive events are not as common, or they just can't happen, right? So you're going to, like, you know, if your local area, like, is running events and you can go to an event safely, awesome. However, Crusades are one-on-one. You do it with your friends, so you keep your circle small, like, in terms of exposure, so you can, like, it's a lot safer, in my opinion. And so I've been really enjoying Crusade, and I've really gotten into it. And anybody who's been following the channel has seen me do lots of Crusades against, like, against Jel Necron and against Dave from Mini Wargaming, all that good stuff as well. Especially for troop choices. Sure, it was a template which hit each model, roll the dice. Yeah, it was crazy. And then it bounced around and could, like, kill your units and their units. The Vortex Grenade was nuts. Iron Maiden want their cover art back, and holy cow, that sounds brutal. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, continuations of games are really fun. So, Crusade rules. So you have a couple of different agendas. So, try to get a Death Company model killed, essentially. Purity through bloodshed, try kill a bunch of stuff. Valor of the Angels, do, like, heroic stuff with a character. Search for the cure. Basically have an action where you're trying to, like, find the cure. So your action doing stuff to, like, find stuff for the, you know, Black Rage or whatever. Requisition points, really. Descent into Madness, you can basically make a unit or make a model, induct them into the Death Company. So you can be like, you're crazy, Captain, now you get to be in the Death Company now. Custodian of the Lost, have a Chaplain. So this lets you reroll what are called Black Rage tests, because the more Blood Angels kill, the more flaw points they get, the higher their flaw value, the closer they are to falling to the Death Company, having models from their unit like folded to Death Company, which is very cool. Noble Heritage, you can essentially give battle honors to your units just by having experience and having extra battle honors, which is kind of neat. Blood Cleansing. You can remove flaw points, so to kind of temper them so they don't all fall to the Death Company. Yeah, which is neat. This kind of explains how to use Death Company. It's very, very specific. You know, you can't just, like, buy and put a bunch of Death Company units in your army normally. You have to sort of, like, build that Death Company up. Death Company can't get experience. They're just, like, crazy, but they do get battle honors they get to use just for that one battle. And then they don't. Yeah, they cycle through, basically. Reminds me of when you used to get codexes and they would have painting guide section with a good way to start your Muse HQ and 2 troops. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I like all the old codexes. Where's an old codex that I can show you? Yeah, like this. I used to love... This is on a tangent, by the way. I know this is a tangent. This is Scodcast, after all, which is Tangent Central City. So this is the old Dark Eldar Codex, right? And Codex has had stuff like this, which I always found I used to, like, even something as simple, this would be like, this is a sample Dark Elder army, which they kind of did with the combat patrol stuff, right? They've kind of started doing that again. But this, I loved. Dark Elder Tactics. And they showed you, like, 3 different ways to, like, deploy your army and kind of, like, with different units and stuff. You know how many times I was, like, I'd dive through these in all the old codexes and be like, I'm going to do this. And I'd use it, like, in my games. I found them relatively useful when I was going through, starting. So some Crusade Relics. You have a cool power sword. You have a cool bolt rifle that auto hits, which is kind of neat. You have a cool Psychic Hood for Dreadnoughts. You can even give it to a Librarian Dreadnought. You have a cool Crosius Arcanum for Chaplain. A cool Sanguinary Priest Chalice. The Angel's Wings, right? An old relic that's now in a Crusade only. Can't overwatch the bearer, can reroll charges. So pretty much what it used to do. And then Legendary Relics, the Encarmine Warblade. So can do mortal wounds and stuff. Pretty cool. And then, of course, your honorifics, which you can make your captains have honorifics like all in the Space Marine Codex. And then a name generator, because who doesn't want a Blood Angel player called, or Blood Angel character called, Sevrael Lorenzo. That was the randomized. I randomized that for you. That book, back when Dark Lances were really good. Yes, Dark Lances were crazy good back then. But we're talking Blood Angels right now. What are you talking about? Okay, so then we go into the data sheets. It explains Black Rage, which they did preview. So, Death Company units that have Black Rage cannot fall back. Which, you know, a good player could... I don't know if you'd like why you'd want to be in combat with Death Company. However, good thing to know, just remember they can't fall back. However, if they have jump packs, they could totally on wings, right? Because that's not a fallback. So if you need to get them out of dodge and they've got jump packs, you could just like, boop, just like get them out of combat without falling back. Interesting. Each time this unit fights, made a heroic intervention, you +1 attack. So they get Blood Angel attack, plus the Death Company attack, plus the Space Marine attack. So when they charge, or heroically intervene, they're getting 3 extra attacks. Turn 3 onwards normally, or if there's a Blood Angels like Chalice nearby, potentially more. Well, check that in the keyword section. 6-up, feel no pain, so they ignore wounds on a 6-up. And it cannot do any actions, so no scramblers or anything like that for Death Company. Makes sense the Death Company don't fall back fluff-wise. Oh, 100%. I 100% agree with it. Yes. TV Robbie, virus grenades were worse. Oh, were they? I guess, was it Death Guard that used to have, like, virus grenades and stuff? Then we have the Death Visions rule. So, Death Visions rule is a new mechanic for Death Company characters. And they're, basically, you get 3 different visions. And each vision gives you a special rule for, like, that fight phase. And you can use each of these once per game. And there's, of course, the stratagem to let you either use a second one in the same fight phase or to use 2 at the same time, depending on like when you have or you haven't used one. So, on the Bridge of the Vengeful Spirit, you can use this if your character, right, can see any enemy infantry characters or monster characters. If you're no vehicles, no nothing. If he can see one, like has line of sight to an enemy infantry character or monster character, then you add +1 to his attacks for every 5 enemy models within 6 inches. So there's a 6-inch bubble. For every 5 enemy models within 6, you get an extra attack. It also gives them reroll hit rolls. So if you're surrounded by a bunch of orcs or whatever, you can use that death vision and go, I see your warlord over there, or a character, rah! And he goes crazy. Sure, okay. So, yeah, situational. Then you have the Grace of the Angel. A model can only use this if an enemy infantry character or monster character is within engagement range. So, within 1 inch, right, of this character, then you can use this Death Vision, and until the end of that turn, you get a 3+ invulnerable save. That's really cool. Remember, as I said, you can sort of combine it with the everybody has to attack me. So if you run in and go, hey, there's like a bunch of characters, and you're like, gonna run in, Death Vision of Sanguinius, you know, Grace of the Angel, 3+ invulnerable save, and I'm gonna spend a CP, and all of you have to attack me now. And I've got a 3+ invul, and I'm gonna spend a CP to 5+ Feel No Pain. So I've got a 5+ Feel No Pain, a 3+ invulnerable save, and you all have to attack me so I can save my troops. So there's some cool like synergistic combos that you can use with like good technical play. I like that in a book when I see little color combos that you can do, which is exciting. And then the last one is to slay the War Master. Probably one of the most interesting ones. It says a model can only use its Death Vision if any enemy infantry characters or monster character models are within engagement range. If a model uses its Death Vision, then instead of making any attacks, both players roll off. If you win, select one of those enemy models, and that model suffers D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. Very random. It's literally like there has to be a character or a monster within engagement range. But it means that you could like do mortal wounds with like a chainsword. And so you have to win a roll-off. Like you have to roll off. You win a roll-off, right? If you do, they take 4 to 6 mortal wounds. Just standard. So probably it's just very situational. Because it all comes down to a roll-off, right? Are you going to win the roll-off or you're not? So you can't really rely on it at all. So pretty much a free stratagem. To be honest, I only played high school and we had Space Marines, Orc and Tyranids. Sadly, due to tendon damage, can't really build or paint things after it. Yeah, that makes sense. I miss my Death Company Death Star. Does anyone attempt to run Death Stars anymore? I think Death Stars are just a little different. It's more like Death Blobs now, because you kind of use it as a blob. Virus may get pre-built, pre-painted army, and I love it, so basically taunt. Yes, exactly. You can be like, you, come here, fight me. So something that I really wanted to double check, actually, that I was curious about last night while I was reading a lot of this stuff, is there's the fight twice stratagem. But you can only do that if your character has not attacked, like fight and death, right? Yeah, so fight and death, when it, and okay, so you could not use this and this because it's selected to fight. Okay, so you can only use the fight and death if you weren't selected to fight, and this is when you're selected to fight, you can use a Death Vision. Okay, so that solves that issue. And then we go into the actual like units. You have Dante. He's decent. Let's kind of go through the so Dante, 175 points. You have a 6 wounded character with a 2-up save, 12-inch move, with a little Inferno pistol and his 2 damage axe, basically strength 7, 2 damage axe. He has -1 to be hit because he's got a death mask. He has a 4-up invul. If he's your warlord, you get an additional command point. Cool. And he is a chapter master, so he gets the chapter master rule. He has rights of battle. And once per battle, you can use an epic deed stratagem for 0 CP. Is that that's any epic deed stratagem. So any of the Space Marine epic deed stratagems and any of the Blood Angel epic deed stratagems. Now that's kind of cool. Anything that sort of like gives you stratagems for free is pretty neat. Epic deed. Okay, so only in Death to Judean, so you can use like Fight and Death for 0 CP. You can use 5-up Feel Pain against Mortal Wounds for 0 CP. Power of the Machine Spirit, so full wounds for 0 CP. Wisdom of the Ancients for Dreadnought for 0 CP. Make a Chaplain automatically recite a litany for 0 CP. Or Combat Revival for an Apothecary, but I don't think they can they use combat revivals? Because they have the priests. I don't think they have normal apothecaries now, do they? Now, do they? Can they just take regular apothecaries? Or... Because I know Space Wolves can't. Dun, 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 dun. I love them pictures. They're just getting funnier over time. Lots of pictures. Oh yeah, the old school pictures of stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah, the old school pictures get really fun. Really funny. I really enjoy them as well. You've got like all this stuff. Just kind of neat. Oh, here we go. Boom. Where is it? Where's the successor chapter stuff? It's around here somewhere. Somebody could like point me to it. We'll get to it after. Okay. So Dante, pretty neat. Then we have Gabriel Seth, Flesh Terrors, Chapter Master. So Gabriel Seth, 160 points. So about standard for like, he's a 6 wounded character. Super Chainsword that does 3 damage and is strength 8. He can fight twice, basically, if there's any enemy units within engagement range with his 5 attacks. So plus charge, plus plus Blood Angel, so up to 7 attacks. He an unmodified roll, wound of a 6, you get plus 1 damage, so you could be up to 4 damage with his Blood Reaver. That's pretty nasty. He is a Chapter Master, and he has Rites of Battle. The Sanguinor is probably one of my favorites. I really like the Sanguinor. And he comes in at a hefty 150 points, so not terrible actually for what you get with the Sanguinor. You get a 5 wounded 2+ save character with a 2 damage -4 AP +2 strength sword that does mortal wounds on unmodified 6s to wound. Cool. He has Death from Above and Aura of Fervor, so friendly Blood Angel core or character units within 6. You have +1 attack if you don't have your Shock Assault. So it's not it's not cumulative with Shock Assault, but it does mean that in protracted combats, like where you don't get charged or whatever, he gives +1 attack. So can be handy to just have. -1 to be hit, 4-up invul save, and then it has a cool rule called Miraculous Savior. So he can heroically intervene from reserve, basically. So if you make a charge move and he's in Deep Strike, he can just like, show up randomly, which I think is pretty cool. He's like, I save you. That's a really powerful ability because you can kind of gauge, you can keep him off the table and then gauge like when your opponent's going to hit you in a certain part of the line and go, okay, I need him over here, right? And you could use it to like save a troop unit on an objective, or you could use it to put pressure on a flank where your opponent thought they were just using something to like charge you to annoy you or whatever. So that's pretty cool. And then you have the Avenging Angel. So you can fall back and charge with this model, and you can heroically 6 inches with this model as well. So all in all, I really like the Sanguinor. I think he's one of the best characters in the Codex. Just versatility-wise, damage-wise, he's pretty decent. Buffs things around him. So Sanguinor, excellent choice. I really like him. Then we have Brother Corbulo, basically an apothecary, and he is a chief apothecary. So he is an apothecary, chief apothecary, and he's got basically 3-inch 6-up Feel No Pain aura. He can heal a friendly unit, D3 wounds. He does have the apothecary and chief apothecary keywords, and he can use his combat restoratives twice, so he can heal 2 different infantry or biker models. Cool. So D3 like heal 2 different things, which is neat. He does come in at a hefty 115 points though, which is like 25 more points than your average chief apothecary. And they have the Red Grail. So Red Grail, you can pick a unit within 6 inches. Oh no, Red Grail is just an aura. Oh shit. It's a 6-inch aura of everybody is in Assault Doctrine. That's neat. Because I think the normal one is you pick a unit. Yeah, okay, so normally it's called a Blood Chalice, and you get to pick a friendly unit to make them in Assault Doctrine. Corbulo just has an aura of everybody's in Assault Doctrine for the whole game. That's kind of neat, actually. If you're a Blood Angel player that enjoys that, that's kind of neat. Yeah, if played right, you can just be like, surprise, mother trucker! Some fries, mother trucker! You know, link to that video down below. Nah, I'm just kidding. Put it in the comments. Sanguinary Priest. Just basic, Sanguinary Priest. Nothing, so same thing. And the Blood Chalice, you can do it to one unit, basically. Of course, there is a stratagem that you could use it for another unit if you really, really wanted to. Yeah, it's pretty strong giving that bubble. For 115 points, that's not bad. Especially since games are getting, like, pretty intense. Now, it is an aura, so with the Priest, for example, it's a little different. You can, like, pick a unit, and then that unit is affected, and they can move off on their own and go, like, do their thing. Whereas... right? Whereas with Corbulo, they just have to be within the aura. So I could see, like, a Sanguinary Priest with the strat to affect 2 different units and then send them off on their own would probably be more effective game-wise. Because then, they don't have to steer near him for the Assault Doctrine, essentially. Then we have Chief Librarian Mephiston. He only knows powers from Sanguinary Discipline. Has a cool Strength 10 D3 damage sword. Why is it D3? I don't know. I don't know why it's D3 damage, but sure, it's D3 damage. Still has his Plasma Pistol. And he's 6 wounds. But you saw the powers, so basically, he's just a dude with powers. And he has a 5-up Feel No Pain. Yep, he's just a... Mephiston is 155 points. So you're paying, a decent amount of points for all these characters. They do get a lot of attacks once they get stuck into combat. Then you have your Librarian Dreadnought. Also only knows Sanguinary Discipline, so can't give him regular powers. 8 wounds. Got the Duty Eternal, like all Dreadnoughts, so -1 damage, which is excellent. Still has their Psychic Hood. Have all the cool weapons. The Fourrioso Halberd is really neat. It's D3 plus 3 damage at Strength 8. However, you can only ever do 1 attack with that weapon, which is a shame. So all the other stuff has to go with the fist, which is okay. It's 3 damage, but oh man, it'd be so cool if all of the attacks could be minimum 4 damage, and each multiple stab you with a force. Have you ever seen the model? It's like a little fisty thing with like the like force halberd, right? Imagine it's like a little shank, be like shank, 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 you know what I mean? And just like shank him. No, it's just 1 attack though. Boo. But yep, they do have the smoke screen keyword too, so you can -1 to hit him if you need to. Then you have Astrath, who's like a killy chaplain. Think of him as like a super chaplain. Basically, people can use his leadership within 6. You automatically pass a morale test within 6 inches of him. He has a 4-up invul. He's 5 wounds. He has a jump pack as well. He knows 2 litanies plus Litany Hate and Massive Doom. And he can recite 2 litanies. Recites on the 3+. Massive Doom. Pick a friendly Blood Angel unit. And they can either add +1 to hit and lose a model. Add +1 to hit. Or have a 4-up invul save. And add +1 to hit. It's like a buff, like, thing. Sure, sounds exciting. But it comes in at a hefty 150 points. So, do you notice a trend happening right here? As a why not combo, Libby Dread with the Visage Relic, to jump around with wings, power to be annoying. True, however... I do not believe you can give any relics to vehicles or named characters. It would be fun. Sadly, vehicles can't take relics. That's just a thing, Tross, that they took away from like the 8th edition age because it was easily abused. Then we have Lemartes. Now, Lemartes is a pretty cool Death Company chaplain. Now, Death Company are the only ones that could benefit from his auras, like his litanies and stuff. so you can't. Now you can. It means that you can like roll additional like have a chaplain doing litanies for Blood Angel units normally, and then have Limartis doing a specific like litany for the Death Company. So you can like double that up around, right? But he does have Angels of Death, Black Rage. He does not have Death Visions of Sanguinius because he's a chaplain. All Death Company units within 6 inches can reroll charge rolls. Okay, which is cool. Blood Angel Death Company within 6, you can use their leadership of 9, which is important because Death Company units have a leadership of 7 because they don't have sergeants. They're literally just leadership 7 across the board. So if you don't have a chaplain nearby or somebody to give them leadership, they have low leadership because they're just crazy. 4-up invul save, and every time a model recites a litany, it's just for Death Company, basically. Captain, Limartis is, because I like going through this, is 120 points. So, decent for a chaplain, a little bit more expensive than normal. He's got a cool Blood Crozius, which is -2 AP, +2 damage. So, it's a, interesting Crozius Arcanum. Then we have Mr. Captain Tycho. Tycho comes in 2 forms. Fallen Tycho, or Tycho. 95 points for regular Tycho. And Tycho the Lost is 100 points. So 5 points more for the Death Company one. But you have basically a combi Melta, a -3 damage hand. I mean, a -3 AP hand. Like, he literally just punches you with his fist. And he has +1 strength and damage against orcs when you fight in close combat, because he doesn't like orcs very much. And he's a captain, so he literally rerolls once to hit. He's Angels of Death, and in Death Company, he does have Black Rage and Death Visions. So it's just a standard, like, cheapo captain. Like, if you just needed a cheap captain with a 2-up save, basically, and a 4-up invul. Awesome. Like, he's just a flavor. Redundant. How much did I miss? The entire Codex. But you can go back and watch it. This is recorded, so you can go back and watch it later. But you can hang out till the end of the stream here if you'd like, and chat and sit. Thank you very much for everybody who's tuned in so far. We're almost done, and we'll get to the end. I'm opening the floor to questions. Make sure you pour your questions out into the chat, and I'll get to them as well. And then we have your Sanguinary Guard. So the good old Sanguinary Guard, they're pretty much exactly the same as what they were in the PDF that they released. So like the supplement that they released on the Warhammer site. They did not get a 3rd wound. They're just 2 wounds. They do have a 2-up save. They're 30 points basically with just like their standard gear, or 35 with the upgraded gear. They have -1 to be hit in close combat. They do have jump packs. They fly. They are core. And they get +1 to hit if the Warlord model is within 6 inches. So pretty much the exact same as they were, except, all their axes and weapons are 2 damage each as well. And they're, and that's it. So their swords, their fists, their Incarmine axes, their Angelus bolt guns are 1 damage. Is that something that used to be the case? So strength 4, -1, 1 damage on their Angelus bolt guns, which are 18 inches for assault 2. So they seem to be pretty much the exact same. He's the 40k version of Where's Waldo? Is he? Why is Tycho lost? Ha ha ha! Funny, funny. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. He is like, where's Tycho? Okay, so then we go to the Sanguinary Ancient. The Sanguinary Ancient is 125 points with standard gear. It's basically a banner with ancient rules. So he has a chapter banner. So +1 to hit for any core unit within 6 inches. Right? So remember what I said? You're going to get lots of pluses to hit everywhere. Then you get the pluses to wound when you charge as a Blood Angel. You're going to get lots of attacks. There's going to be the army of hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s or 2s. right? So so it's just volume. The Blood Angels are all about volume of dice, just throwing volume at stuff. -1 to hit from Visage. It gets +1 to hit if there's a Warlord nearby. And then you have an Astartes Banner. So when a unit is destroyed on a 4+, you know, they can shoot or fight again. So it's pretty much the same stuff. He does have the Ancient keyword as well, so you can get access to the Ancient stuff that makes them Ancient. Yep. Then we have the Death Company Dreadnought. It's a regular Dreadnought that moves a little slower than normal. It moves 6 inches, right? It has a couple of heavy flamers or melt-a-gun and a Stormbolter, a couple of smoke fists. He has smoke launchers as well. Gives it the smoke launchers, which gives it the smoke screen keyword, so you can use the -1 to hit it. Stratagem, which is kind of cool. And it has the -1 damage, and it's Death Company. So it just has Black Rage. So lots of attacks on the charge, and it can pre-game move with the Forlorn Fury, which is pretty neat. And it is not a core unit, however. So unlike other Dreadnoughts, it did not get the core. Hello, Heckers! What's going on? Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in to today's morning stream. Then we have Death Company Marine. Oh, you're probably wondering, well, what's the point cost? Death Company Dreadnought. 125 points. And then up to, 130 to 140 points, depending on how many upgrades you give. Now, cool thing to note, Magna Grapple changed. It's a little different than it was before. So Magna Grapple is if you're already in combat with a vehicle unit and the vehicle wants to fall back, right? So not an aircraft, but any other vehicle, you can use your Magna Grapple. So you basically roll 2d6, and if you roll less than the strength of that unit, then it can fall back. Otherwise, you remain stationary. So if you're fighting a tank that's strength 6 or strength 7, you roll 2d6, those Magna Grapples, are more than likely going to stop the vehicle from falling back. So once the Dreadnoughts get into combat, if they're like fighting tanks, if they don't just blow up the tanks, or you can try and multi-charge a tank in another unit and like fight the unit and hold the tank in place so it doesn't fall back, and then fight the tank in their turn. So there's some cool play with the Magna Grapple. I kind of like it. Especially against armies that take like lots of little like tanks and things like that. Hecka says, more Space Marines. Blood Angels. Blood Angels Space Marines. I got a bit desperate and greedy. Bought myself 2,000 points worth of Drukhari since they're getting the book first. That's right, buddy. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to the dark side. And you bet we're having a lot of Drukhari content coming out of this channel. And then, of course, all the Patreon stuff I'll be doing. Oh, amazing. Thought still playing with Harleys. That's amazing. Okay, Death Company Dreadnought. So, Death Company Marines. Biggest thing I noticed about Death Company Marines, by the way. Death Company Marines are 22 points a model. They're 25 points with a jump pack. Cool. It's 25 points with a jump pack, and then like some of the fists and stuff are like 5 points for flamers and shit like that or whatever. Now, cool thing is you can have all of their bolt pistols replaced with hand flamers for 5 points each. If you wanted 10 Death Company Marines with 10 hand flamers and then drop down and do 10 d6 shots, do 60 hits against like a big Necron blob with just hand flamers, hilarious, but it's totally something you can do. But you have Death Company Marines. They're 2 wounds each, 3 up save. They're leadership 7, so watch out for that because they're that's pretty crazy for any leadership-based shenanigans. And they're not allowed to kind of mix and match their weapons as much as they were. They can have a chainsword and a bolt pistol, or a thunderhammer, or a hand flamer and a chainsword, or a inferno pistol and a chainsword, or a plasma pistol and a chainsword. Like, you could have all 10 of them with plasma pistols if you wanted to, or as many as you wanted with plasma pistols. And then they can have their chainsword with a power axe, power fist, power maul, power sword. So you can have more with a special, close combat weapon as well. So they just can't have a bolter and a bolt pistol and a close combat weapon anymore, which is something they used to be able to do at some point. So they get lots of attacks. 2 attacks base, chainsword, 3 attacks, you know, Angel of Death attack, so an extra attack, so that's 4 attacks on the charge, plus Death Company, 5 attacks on the charge, plus if you're doing the Assault Doctrine, or sorry, yeah, the Assault Doctrine, that's 6 attacks on the charge. That's a lot of attacks for a single Space Marine, so not too shabby. Gotta love a bit of old debauchery. Yes, absolutely. Melt most of the Necrons, only watch the living metal reanimate back like some Terminator shiz. Well, Ryan, if you kill all the Necrons in a single shooting phase, they're all gone. They're all dead. You don't have to worry about them coming back. Not single shooting phase, but with a single unit. Just, if you kill them all with one unit, don't have to worry about it. Which is why Plasma Inceptors are so good. They drop down 30 shots, usually kills the Necron Warrior unit, dead. Then we go to Death Company Intercessors. Now, I really like them. They are an elite choice, though. They're 22, 25 points a model, something like that. 24 points a model. So almost the same cost as a Death Company Marine with a jump pack. They can have auto bolt rifles, stalker bolt rifles, or you can give them bolt pistol and chainsword. They start with 3 attacks each. So Death Company Intercessors, you can have Death Company Assault Intercessors. So you're looking at Chainsword for 4 attacks, plus an attack for charging, plus Death Company, plus Blood Angel and Assault Doctrine. They have 7 attacks each. Crazy. If you ask me, it's nuts. Right? So that's lots of attacks. You can give one model can have like a heavy plasma pistol, and then you can have a couple of models. They don't have as many special weapons as like Death Company jump pack units, but they have more attacks just in general. They can also Forlorn Fury and their intercessors. You know, so I like it. I think Death Company Intercessors are a pretty sturdy choice, especially if you're just using little 5-strong units for backfield stuff. Like 7 attacks on the charge is pretty damn good. You know, that's out of a 5-strong unit. That's 5 Space Marines. You're getting 35 attacks. That shit's crazy. Then you have a Furioso Dreadnought. The good old Furioso Dreadnought. 120 points, so nothing super crazy. Lots of close combat weapons. Can take a Magna Grapple as well. -1 damage for Duty Eternal. It is not a core unit, however. The Ball Predator, without any upgrades, is 120 points. His Flamer is 18 inches. Heavy D6, 2 damage, -2. So it's not terrible. Can have heavy Flamers now, which are... Were you ever going to see them? Sadly, probably not. They're very iconic, unless you're like a super fluff bunny and you like your Ball Predators. All power to you. And they come equipped with the Auto Advance 6. However, their weapons are heavy, so if it advances, it can't shoot its weapons. Bit of a shame there. It'd be cool if it's like super heavy. Its super flamer was an assault weapon, so you could just, you know. However, in close combat, it's ironic. Like it would flame you to death in close combat. Quantity has a quality all of its own, says Joel. 100%. Like, just rolling 1,000,000 dice at something, like, is pretty snazzy. Like, you think about it. If you drop 10 Hand Flamers into a unit of Necron Warriors, right? You're doing 60 hits, right? Because they're a big block of 20. 60 hits. So you're just rolling to wound. And, yeah, they're wounding on 5s. Sure. Right? However, you know, you're doing... Technically a third, so that'd be, what, 10 wounds, technically? But if you roll hot, no, 60 would be 20 wounds. 20 wounds. Just 20 wounds. And that's if you roll average. If you roll hot, like you're doing 25, 30 wounds, right? And then all of a sudden your opponent has to take 30 saves. And if you're in the doctrine that increases the AP of pistols by 1, boom, instantly you've got an extra AP on your pistols. That's pretty nasty. Shameful fact, I started again on 7th with Blood Angels, though I sold them, switched back to Eldar, which I started back in 3rd. You know, as a hobbyist, we go back and forth all the time. And that, folks, is the end of the road. It has been a fantastic road. I'm going to open the floor for questions. If you're watching live and you'd like to ask a couple of questions before we finish up, this has been really fun. So my overall impressions of the Blood Angel Codex, you know, are they the be-all, end-all, best chapter? No, they're not. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give them a 7. 7 to 8. You know, I don't think that they are as good as something like White Scars, or say just straight up Ultramarines, which have a lot of strategic gameplay. However, for sheer amount of just like ferocity and firepower, I feel like they are on par with like the Space Wolves in that sense. They're just a little different. So instead of getting like very easy to wounds and lots of like characters that do like lots of damage, here you have elite units doing crazy amounts of like attacks that are very reliably hitting and wounding. So you're just throwing a bunch of dice at your opponent. If that's your style of gameplay, with the ability to do lots of redeployments and some pretty cool tricks and some decent psychic powers, you know, it's definitely a more technical style gameplay than anything else. And I think that we will see Blood Angel lists, you know, continue to do well. After all, they're based off of the Space Marine Codex, which is one of the best codexes in general. And combined with things from the Space Marine Codex, these rules, things like Blade Guard veterans and Plasma Inceptors and a whole bunch of different stuff, become really useful, right? I think it's very important to note that as well. Joel says, thank you for the review. Thank you for tuning in early on your Saturday morning to come and watch the review. Personally like that they closed up the power gap between Space Wolves and Blood Angels. So far, so good. Yeah, getting all the additional relics and the stratagems really does help out as well, which is great. Well, this has been a fantastic, fun stream. It started at 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. 5 a.m. in the morning. I got up at 4:30, and now it is 6:30, so we've been going for a good hour and a half, almost 2 hours to review the book. Make sure you stay tuned for pre-release day for the next Codex release, where I will be doing a pre-release live stream like this, and I hope you get to join me. I believe there's another one coming every once in a while, so stay tuned for that. A huge shout out to the channel Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It's thanks to the Denizen community that I get to do content like this. So join the Denizen community today. The links are down below, as well as the merch store and all that good stuff. If you haven't already, click the like, share, subscribe. You know how that works. I shouldn't have to tell you, you know. YouTube algorithms and Twitch stuff works like that too. So I really appreciate you coming by to say hi. Gerard Monster says, that was fascinating. I've never played 40k. You almost make me want to grab a bag of Marines used from the local store, and it's 6:30 here as well. Yes, do it. Do it. And then you can hashtag just put paint on it with us every Tuesday to Friday in the mornings. Chukari's supposed to be in January. Enrico says, sorry I'm late. That's okay. You're going to have to watch the replay because we are gunzo dunzo here today. And yes, it's supposed to be in January. I'm a very happy Archon. Very, very happy Archon. With that, I think I'm going to go and maybe take a little bit of a nap or hang out with my son, who's probably just waking up right now. All is dust. Do the... Great comment. Thank you, Skari. Good review. They sound right. Cheers and happiness. Hashtag. Thank you, Robbie. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Do they still have a Psychic Dreadnought? Yes. Yes, they do. Okay, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. I've been Skari, your grateful host, and this has been another live review. Until next time, don't forget, the Dark Kin. Bye, everybody. That's the end of the stream. If you're still here, then at some point there will be like these cool little things that pop up on the sides that say, check out this video and check out that video and follow me and subscribe to what I do. If you enjoy the antics, make sure you stay tuned. Click that little notification bell so that when I go live, you get the cool stuffs. And, yeah, I'm friendly, folk. If you ever need anything, make sure you reach out. Okay, well, I think that's enough me blabbering. I've been going on for way too long already. and we'll kind